Alrighty. Hello, everybody. I'm here with a wonderful woman and artist and client of mine since, I think mid-November last year, Georgie Mason. And we're trying to do an interview about her process, her journey working with me and changes she's had for herself in her last year. Hopefully some brags and hopefully make it like a fun conversation that would be helpful and give some information about the work and how change happens. So nice to have you here, Georgie, first of all. And
Nice.
anything you want to add to my intro of you?
Um, no, I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to be able to remember what was going on in my life a year ago.
That's what you want to add to my intro. Well, let's see. Okay, let's see. Um, an awesome artist, I just gotta say. Uh, well, then I'll start asking you a question and we'll see what comes up. We started working, I think, no, I was back from Mexico mid-November last year. Curious if you kind of remember what was going on for you at the time in your life that you want to share.
I think I've been in quite a good place for a while, and I just finished being me a few months previously, I think, Ava's program. And yeah, I've been in a really good place for a long time. But then I think I can't remember. Maybe you can remember. I started dating again, I think. And maybe, I can't even remember who it was. But I think I was triggered um, during that and thought I need some kind of, I think I'd lost my grounding a bit and I needed some support. And I remember being quite sort of, I really just need support again at that point. So I'd got to know you a bit through the self-mastery group and thought Daniel's the person for it. So I got in touch with you and yeah, committed to a year up front, didn't we? So, which was quite scary at the time, but actually I just knew I needed a year's worth of kind of the same person, consistent support, not just for the hard times, but also just to sort of build my life and create things, so move in the right direction in all aspects.
Cool. Yeah, I'm curious. So yeah, my memories. Yeah, you were kind of starting dating or what? I don't know if you started or you wanted to start dating and kind of support with triggers showing up in relationships, fears, kind of dating people that you want and developing healthy relationship with men that you enjoy being in relationship with. And of course, yeah, we worked on a bunch of things, but that's what I remember we started with. I'm curious, kind of, what kind of challenges or problems do you remember we were working on, or that was going on for you at the time before we started working, or even during, that you recall, kind of problems or challenges?
I think talking about it now, I think I remember I just started um, dating the guy, and I just remember being really in a state of sort of being quite triggered, like attachment activated most of the time, and feeling quite unconfident, quite like sort of insecure, I suppose, particularly in the context of a new relationship. Yeah, I remember feeling just quite kind of anxious a lot of the time. I was living in Hackney, and yeah, it's so hard to remember. I can't really
Oh,
think that far back. I just know that I was in quite a bad place, and yeah, I just struggled a lot in ways that I probably still do now, but like to a much lesser extent. Um, yeah, I can't remember sort of specific things.
Yeah. I remember kind of, first of all, you wanting to date men that, um, really are healthy relationships, really have healthy relationships with men. And he told me that this is also why you want to work with me, with the guys. You want to have, kind of get to have healthy relationships with men. And kind of, yeah, triggers about, you know, anxieties around relationships, insecurities, fears. Um, let's see, I'm curious, what kind of you feel like you learned during the months we've been working together? What you learn and what changed for you or discovered?
Yeah, that's so interesting. I forgot that I felt like that really, really unsafe with men in general. I think just a sense of can't trust uh, men, um, not generally, but I think in relationships. And yeah, it was really important for me to have a man that was kind of a platonic, consistent man who was going to like see me, all parts of me, and show me love and support. So I think that aspect of it's really helped. Um, just feeling seen and being able to be vulnerable as well in front of you. Um, I think that's a big thing that's changed. Like I've just noticed. I think one of the things I said to you at the start was I want to be able to have friends who are men without feeling like um, they're gonna like they just maybe want one thing or that they're gonna leave or like reject me in some way. Um, and just thinking about it now, I feel I've got so many male friends just from this year who are kind of exactly that, just nice platonic male friends. And I also feel like I've been able to um, I can't remember what I was going to say. Platonic male friends. I feel like I've been able to maybe talk to them and just be honest and say, because I guess some of them there's been kind of like brushings of romanticism, but I've just openly said like clearly, I don't want this, I want this, and like just being able to sort of feel less shame around saying my boundaries with men. And I think in that relationship particularly, that was a really, really healing relationship. And you supported me and like helped me kind of be able to say what I needed at that point. And yeah, it didn't work out in the end. And I remember struggling a lot with not knowing how to know if it was right or not, and like not knowing how to follow my intuition. And you kind of I'd be stressing about it so much. I mean, it was like weeks on end, wasn't it, where I was like, should I stay or should I go? I don't know what to do. How do I know? And you would say like it doesn't matter. In the end, like there's not a right or a wrong decision. But yeah, you just helped me trust myself that I would make the right decision. Which I did in the end. But I just wouldn't have I wouldn't have known like how to navigate that. I would have found it very difficult, I think, to navigate that without your support. And we ended up calling it off, and it was very like woke, conscious uncoupling kind of thing. Yeah, all very friendly and grown up, and I've just learned so much about. I've just grown so much in confidence. I think learning how to trust my intuition in relationships, and knowing that actually, because of my past and like the wounds that I've got that do show up in relationships, that they're actually a blessing. And it means that even though I do still get triggered, and I've just started seeing a new guy now, and it's as you know, and it's like it is quite triggering still, but I also equally have like this knowledge. It's a kind of contrast where whenever I get triggered, it like reminds me all the tools that I've learned, and it kind of reminds me that I have come so far and I do know how to cope with it. And whilst it's been a difficult journey, I've learned how important communication is. And like you've been like talking me through how to communicate stuff in a way that feels much less like a kind of, you know, drama, and more just like, oh yeah, that's actually really easy. That's a really easy thing to do. And yeah, there's like so much else I could say because it's not all just about relationships, obviously.
Yeah,
I
please.
mean, huh?
Yeah, please share.
Just, I mean, I just feel like a completely different person. Like it's interesting because when I have an off day now, or I feel triggered now, or you know, scared that this person that I'm seeing is that I'm kind of unworthy on some level or whatever. I just get out of it so much quicker. I can deal with it so much easier. It doesn't take over my whole life. It's just sort of it's just like a little blip. And yeah, just I like the way as well that you've called me out over time on things. Like, you know, you're not just a kind of, you know, you're always perfect. Like it's always about your past, but you know, blah 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 blah. You do sometimes say like you do this and you need to like lovingly you need to sort it out. Like some certain like ADHD traits. I used to always turn up late, didn't I, to sessions, and I sometimes do that now, but and also yeah, and being quite blasé about that. And I didn't realize when I first started working with you, so having sessions with you,
Yeah.
that was linked, like that kind of blasé attitude was linked to trauma, and that ADHD was linked to trauma, and like that whole, you opened up that whole link to me, which has been so life-changing as well, because you know, now I know about it, it makes total sense. Like as a child, if you're, you know, it's not that safe to be in the present moment, then you're going to escape it. And whether that means kind of pretending it's not there, detaching, being late, causing trouble, being a rebel because what you're doing when you're trying to be yourself isn't enough, or it's too much. So just generally kind of taking on this very like blasé attitude to life as a protection mechanism. Oh, why does it matter if I'm 2 minutes late? Or, you know, it's also a kind of protecting myself from rejection. Like if I'm late, then I'm not the loser who's like here early, you know.
Yeah, that would be me.
But for parties or anything, like just yeah, in general life, that blasé attitude, you like sat me down one day and you were like, it was like 10 minutes late for a session, and you're like, Georgie, you know, I love you, but this blasé attitude, you got to look at how you show up to things, and why you do it. And I've not noticed it, you know, it became such a habit that, and I knew that I didn't intend it. And it was like, I think you identified that there was a really big gap between the Georgie that was being projected out to the world, and even to my closest friends and family, and the Georgie that is the real me that I know doesn't want to hurt anyone, doesn't want to be late, doesn't want to seem like I don't care, because the real me is this really ultra sensitive person who's terrified, or has been terrified of being too much, or being not enough, or being rejected or abandoned. And so I think having that compassion for myself and understanding that has been quite huge as well. And that then linked back to the relationships thing, because I think, you know, I was avoidant despite thinking that everyone else is avoidant, and this is still the case in this new relationship that I'm getting into now, where because I'm so scared of somebody else not liking me or loving me, I kind of push them away or test them or play out that same pattern of seeming like I don't care, seeming blasé about things, and struggling to be vulnerable. And yeah, I just feel much more able to be vulnerable now. And the amount of times that I've like cried to you, and I think that's definitely helped because it's kind of a bodily, lesson. Like it's okay if you cry, and you were always so lovely. You say like, um, it's okay. I love watching you cry. This is real. It's honest. It's okay. I mean, I do still sometimes like shut down the camera and go and cry and like scream into my pillow, don't I? But I'm getting better.
Yeah, beautiful. One of the things I've noticed for you, I don't know if you picked up on that, you're much more present and grounded. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I
You
think
hear that?
that actually, as I was talking about the ADHD things, because this is an example of me last year. Hey, hi, hey. Oh, sorry, I've got to go and get. Got to just go and get a glass of water. Oh shit, I forgot to do it. Sorry, I'm late. Yeah. Oh wait, hang on. Like it took me 10 minutes to settle down, didn't it? Every session, and now I'm like, yeah, much more in my body, and yeah, I still have my moments, but it is interesting thinking back to all that time ago, how much has changed in actually quite a short space of time.
Yeah. I wonder if you notice in your daily life, if you think back to 6 or 8 months back in today, how much present you are compared, how much more present and grounded you are, if you notice anything.
I mean, I'm so much happier and just more myself. I can connect more with people. I want to know about people and their lives because I'm not stuck in this loop of kind of my own drama. Because I've just released so much of the pain that was causing that like mental thinking. Just feel more confident, more like just more able to do life in a way that's thriving, not just kind of getting through the days and surviving. And so much good stuff has happened in my life, like my boat. I've moved onto a boat, and that was purely complete chance. Like putting out good energy into the world and good stuff coming back. Done loads with my art classes that we talked about at the start of our sessions together. All this stuff has sort of happened gradually because I think day to day I'm just more aligned to like who I am meant to be. That sounds a bit wishy-washy.
Well, but it's real. It can be real. You feel connected to yourself, and things move in a way you're conscious, and you're connected to life, and life helps you, even if it sounds wishy-washy. My experience, it works that way.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
I'm curious. You kind of, and I don't do that with everybody, but what I liked about the work we do together, and you think you appreciate, is that we kind of have some sessions which are more about kind of therapy and healing wounds and trauma and emotional wounds and changing beliefs. And then some sessions are kind of like, okay, what do you want to create in your life? and let's take action and work on it. And I'm curious if there's anything you'd like to share on that. How's that like for you?
It's nice. It takes the pressure off. Sometimes in more traditional therapy, I felt like I have to find something bad, and like, if I'm just feeling great about life, then uh, I want to multiply that energy, and that's what's nice about being able to say to you, like, today I can't think of anything bad, and I'm just in a really great mood, so let's talk about how I can implement more and like make my business more streamlined, and so that I don't have to do as much work, so that I can live more and work more efficiently. And yeah, so and then it's kind of fun as well, it's not, it doesn't feel like therapy, but then the good stuff usually does kind of come back to some of the harder stuff, because that's where the blockages are, that's kind of stopping me from like believing into that dream. So sometimes that's more effective, even, is like starting from a place of let's make a dream. So like last session we had, I said, didn't I said to you, like, I'm in a really great mood and I just want to, well, actually, was I in a good mood? I can't remember. I think I was
That's
talking
two
about,
calls ago. I think that was 2 calls ago. What you mentioned.
yeah, where I wanted to turn, because I have, this obsession with attachment styles and attachment theory, and I'm just really want to be secure, and that's something that's I'm really getting there with that, and that was probably the main reason that I needed the help from you. But I've done so much working through all the reasons that I have an insecure attachment style, but I wanted to start working on building this other kind of future house where I'm dreaming into being secure, and how does that feel, and how does that look inside a relationship, like day to day, how do I feel when he's not texted for a while, like, do I even bat an eyelid at that, like, what does it feel to just be so kind of secure in myself and believe that I'm completely worthy of this love, that I don't question it and I don't read signs in everything that it's about to end, or I'm not enough, or I'm crazy. So that's been a really useful tool to kind of have both sides as well. Yeah, I can't remember what the question was now. Did I answer it?
Yeah, I asked you about the coaching and therapy and that combination. How's that like for you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how did your relationship with yourself change?
I think I'm in the process of just releasing a lot of shame that I've been carrying for a long time. And obviously there's levels to it, and I released a lot before we met, but like it never stops. Like, so I think through understanding that the stuff that happened to me when I was young isn't, or shouldn't define me. It doesn't have to define me as a person. It doesn't have to define the way that I relate to other people. And getting rid of all that baggage and that whole belief system, and believing more that I can create the relationships that I want, has given me massive confidence to sort of, it's like shed a load of weight, but it's also given me another narrative to believe in. So I feel much more like I'm able to be present and compassionate towards myself as well. And then, yeah, feeling that way inside naturally emanates out, and then it's like a virtuous circle of, you know, you give that energy, you get it back, and it keeps going.
Yeah. You mentioned new narrative about yourself. What was the old one? What's more becoming the new one for you?
I think I wasn't aware of the old one whilst I was living it. And now, retrospectively, I see how hidden I was underneath so many layers.
Hidden in what sense?
Feeling like I couldn't express my true self. Feeling like I needed to be somehow different in order to be loved. Feeling like it wasn't safe to express my needs. But all this was buried under loads of just denial that I didn't even realize was there. So it's been, yeah, it's almost like, I think maybe the work that I did before me and you were working together was more, I could connect to the pain itself, and I was releasing a lot of that. But there's a whole other layer of like protection, like frustration, denial, shame, that in a way that was the thing that was left that needed to be, and still needs to be, seen. Because it's quite easy, I find it easy now to connect to the anger and the rage of my inner child, because that's an easier part to feel sorry for. Like, you know, all this stuff was going on when I was so young as like a helpless child. It's quite easy to say, poor you, that's shit, like that really sucks that you had to go through all that. But I think it's the characters that I built up subconsciously to deal with that pain when I was, well, through my whole life, but teens, 20s. That's what's harder to see, and so and to be compassionate for, I think, because it's just become the way that I operate. So I think that's why then having you calling me out on the way that shows up in day-to-day life has been so important, because that's what I've needed. Like, I need someone to just say, this is how you seem, and I know that that's not who you really are, so let's sort it out. Why is that happening? You know, is that, what is that protector part protecting you from? Yeah, so we've been doing a lot of work on that narrative of me feeling like I'm too much, and actually just sort of working towards a new narrative of, well, not too much. I've got my needs and I know what they are, and I'm also not enough. You know, that's just a lie. So yeah, I feel much more. It's weird, you know, it's such a slow process, isn't it? It's not like, oh, I feel like I'm a new person. It's more like I just feel like I've dropped into a quieter kind of, I just feel more authentic and more like the me that I probably would have been if a load of shit hadn't happened.
Yeah, yeah. Who you really are underneath kind of the defenses and
Yeah.
this awesome being that you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just, I would say, I was having a thought, like, it's not just I'm not enough. It's like, or I'm enough, or I'm not too much. It's like I would, you're awesome, and you're great,
Yeah.
and notice acknowledging that about you, and yeah, it's a process of like we have all these layers of shame that
Mhm.
like let's let go of that so that we can really appreciate who we are as human beings.
Mm.
So yeah, doesn't happen in a day. But, when you look 8 months back, a year, it's like, oh wow, I'm a different person. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite funny. I sing what's on my mind without realizing it. And one of my songs that I subconsciously sing over and over this year is "I'm a different person. Ooh,
Hmm.
turn my world around." I
I don't know that one, but it sounds catchy.
can't remember who it's by.
Oh.
But yeah, and I feel like when we started working together as well, I kind of knew that I was great and amazing, but I felt like ashamed of saying that, or I felt like I didn't fully believe in it because there was still so much, the part of me that believed that I wasn't, or that had its insecurities was still speaking louder. Um, Whereas now I feel like that's slowly changing, and the parts that really do know that I'm amazing, coming out on top, and that's been reflected in like every area of my life. Like I've been making decisions easily that reflects my self-worth. Like the house that I was living in before was amazing, and people were saying to me, "Oh, how are you ever going to get anywhere as good as that? It's such a lovely house." And I wasn't paying that much rent, relatively. Um, and then, yeah, through kind of doing the job that I love, teaching art classes, I met an amazing man who's become a really good friend. And he then came across this other guy who's the owner of this boat that I'm living in. And really, really quickly, that was suddenly turned into I've got a new home within a week. Jim, this guy is my neighbor, like, and it's 2 minutes away from the studio, and it's like better than the old house. I live on a freaking boat, and it's huge, and I live by myself, and I hardly pay. Well, I do pay a lot of rent, but not nearly as much as it should be for a whole place by myself on the water. And then also the friends that I'm attracting are just amazing. Like I've just met so many amazing people this year. But from going to the London Buddhist Centre retreats, I've met certain people who've introduced me to artists that I've been wanting to meet for years, just randomly. Then I've ended up going to retreats with that artist, working together, meeting other people through him. So it's just sort of spiraled, like it's uncontrollably like amazing people everywhere. And like then this new guy that I'm seeing, we've been friends for 2.5 years, but like there's a reason that never blossomed into anything until now. And that's because I can recognize that on some level 2 years ago I wasn't ready for someone like him. It wouldn't have worked because I would have ruined it. Like not I would have ruined it, but the parts of me that didn't believe that I deserved like a tall, handsome Irish man who's really clever and funny and kind and like earns loads of money and etc. etc. would have been like, you're not enough for this person. So it just wouldn't have worked. And now, it's aligned and it happened so kind of organically. And who knows like where it's gonna go. But it's just great that I'm in this place where, that's just like naturally happens. Um, yeah, and he's the kind of person that I want, not the kind of person that a part of me that doesn't have much self-belief thinks is the best I can get.
You kind of love yourself more and appreciate who you are. So you're like, okay, maybe I am enough for dating this guy or meeting those people. Like, I'm cool, I'm awesome, I love myself. Why not? And you start kind of people feel it, and something happen, and you probably are more open to interacting in that way, and you know changes happen. Well, that's really nice to hear. I didn't think see that perspective of you that way. Anything else you'd like to share?
On that subject or just generally?
General.
I am really interested in what changes you've noticed, because I'm in my body all the time, so it's hard to really distinguish. Whereas I guess you get like just like a weekly, maybe you have a better idea of the changes.
Yeah. Yeah. I have an elephant's memory. That's my. I think if you ask me, I think the biggest thing, and that's the biggest thing that I want to bring to anybody at work is you're just more happy and more present and kind of grounded and connected to yourself. And it reflects, I think, in probably how you show up to relationships. Like you say, you have these relationships, but how you feel about yourself, and kind of even your tone of voice changes. And I think that's the biggest one that I've really enjoyed seeing. You growing and being more grounded and present, and kind of, you mentioned authentic. In a way, we let go of, it's okay when we're not. It's just we let go of the defenses slowly, like, okay, it's okay to let this go. Okay to let this go. Like, okay, well, now what remains is kind of, our essence and who we are when we drop that, and that really shines in you. And yeah, I think you also kind of are more grounded and feeling more, uh, allowing yourself to be more vulnerable, and kind of, like you mentioned, allowing yourself to really feel your pain, process that, so that you can heal and create different ways of being and living it. We've had a lot of sessions. It's just like, well, let's feel into this pain so that we don't have to carry it anymore, which I think is beautiful and kind of massive. Every time we let go of that, it's just we lose emotional weight. We just lose all that emotional weight, and something changes. And I don't know if I take credit for that at all, actually, but it seemed to this year just kind of, yeah, great relationship, kind of growing in your career, kind of growing in where you are in life. Kind of what I'm noticing from the outside over the months is growing in your income and career and relationships, and how you feel about yourself, and how you feel about other people, and how you carry yourself, how you show up. It's beautiful. It's just great to see.
Do you think
That's
I've
kind of
been
what
less recently, or am I imagining it?
do you think what? I missed it.
I've been less late for sessions recently.
I
Or
think you have. Yeah. Maybe we need one more though. One more. You showed up on time to this interview. This time I was the one with my computer problem. Maybe we'll do one more of but my clients, they know about that. You're not the only one to mention that if somebody's late, I mention it, because that's kind of not that, only to serve, only to serve, because it's kind of how you show up in life. Um, had a first session with a client. My first session with him, he was late 7 minutes. I was like, I love you, man. I look forward, we're gonna work like for 6 months. I love you, man. But dude, please don't be late like that. Please show up on time. That's it. He showed up on time since then. But it sends a message that we send to ourselves. Yeah, you do show up on time. So yeah, and it's okay. Sometimes we don't, and shit happens, but we aim to do our best. So it's funny you mentioned that. That stuck out for you. That was meaningful for you, picking up on that session where we talked about it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's just good to be called out on these things by someone who has your back, because when you've done like a certain amount of work, that's, I think, where the next level of the work is. It's like you can kind of talk about, oh, my past and how it affected me, and have like a level of self-awareness that's quite deep in one respect, but then maybe you're actually kind of still in the dark about certain aspects of how it is manifesting, yeah, in your real life, that you might not even be aware of. So yeah, definitely really helpful.
Yeah. yeah, it's about embodying it. You know, we can read the books and kind of, you
Yeah.
know, it's really embodying it and living it. So yeah, and you know, I know that one of the coaches I worked with, you know, I was late once. He was like, I was 2 minutes late. He was like, if you're late next time, I'm closing the call. He was way tougher than me. He was like, I'm not showing up to the call. I'm gonna leave the call if you're late. So I was like, but I appreciated it, you know, because I was doing nonsense. Um, and that was I was late, not of any important reason. So that stuck out with me when he did that. Way tougher than I am, you know. Anything else?
Mm, no, I don't think so. It's just nice to sort of think back at what's changed. It's quite, yeah, I feel quite rejuvenated now. I'm gonna go to the studio and paint. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah. Paint. Maybe you do a painting where you were before, where you are now, where you want to be. That's a fun one. So
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'd do that if I didn't have 2 commissions that I have to finish.
you got the commission. Awesome, awesome,
Maybe
Georgie.
I'll
Awesome.
put it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you, everybody watching. That was awesome. Let me stop the recording. Ah.